How's it going, Robot Wars fans? Hardcore Kid here with yet another edition of the Hardcore Podcast. And today, we finally made it to the grand final of Robot Wars: The Ninth Wars. Joining me for this venture, I have to my left, Otaku Nate.
To think that the Robot Wars grand final would have to be pushed back for golf, of all things.
Oh.
I mean, it is Britain. I mean, this is a country that pushes premieres of major TV shows back for snooker.
Snooker, soccer, lacrosse.
Snooker is essentially just pool if you're an even bigger snob.
Yeah, so joining us for today's episode, we got Jimjamatic once again.
Hello, and I'm just going to say I can confirm that golf is crap. So, yes.
Miniature golf is fun, though.
Oh yeah, miniature golf's fun, but it's not worth stopping Robot Wars for.
Yeah,
you know, my dad's a big golf fan. I mean, I guess it's really good, like when you're middle aged and you have nothing else to do, and playing video games isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, Jim had to fill in for Dave Weston again. Unfortunately, Dave was available, but unfortunately he has food poisoning, so he had to pull out.
It's like Dave doesn't want to be on the same podcast as me. This is the second time.
It's cursed.
I am.
But we do have a replacement for him.
Yes, we do. He is a man who I'm very proud to say is kind of the face of the Robot Wars fan on YouTube, along with the likes of Jimjamatic and Sam Elliott 64. You, of course, may know him from his usual sign-on phrase. Please introduce yourself, second guest.
This is Robot Wars, where we get a bunch of millionaires to knock a ball around a field with a stick.
Yes, it is.
Or should I have introduced myself as "Hello, YouTube viewers and random Robot Wars fans"?
Yeah, that's what I was expecting you to do.
Always expecting.
If you haven't guessed already, it's Votesaxon07.
Who is Saxon, and why should we vote for him?
Oh, he's some guy. He's a good friend of my dad's.
Okay.
And
And why should we vote for him? What will he do?
He's a good lad, you know. He'll keep the pubs open, that sort of thing. He's a good fella.
So,
vote for him.
So, tonight, this is it. Well, today, I should say, because we're recording this at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking about the grand final of the Ninth Wars, and before we get into it proper, what were your feelings about it going in?
I was very intrigued by the fact that, I mean, the BBC Menton are very, very good at spoiling things. I already knew who the matchups were going to be, and particularly with the second battle involving a certain spinning robot, which we'll get to, it was kind of obvious which robots were going to suffer the most. I mean, it spoiled the wild card as well, but I'll get to that. I was kind of shocked by that one, but yeah.
Well, I don't know. I did the smart thing. I stayed away from social media today because yesterday Nate and I we were at our own Easter parties because yesterday was Easter Sunday. So
I had to stay up late to watch the final. I was gonna watch it when I got home, but Dad had to sit me and my brother down, and we had to rewatch The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm a Catholic.
Very depressing.
I'm a Catholic. I actually don't mind the movie. I do think it's pretty good, but it's not something that I would go back and rewatch on a regular basis. I mean,
No.
It's not on the same level as something like The Godfather or Commando.
Yeah, very different movies. Yeah,
It's not worth delaying Robot Wars for either way.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to watch it on the stream, so I watched it on Daily Motion. Which was good, but unfortunately, it had a lot of buffering, which, It's actually been kind of an issue these past few episodes, particularly episode 4, where it would just keep buffering.
We were watching those live on other means.
Yeah.
But in terms of my viewing experience, I didn't have any problems viewing it on a Daily Motion. And yes, we do apologize, but BBC iPlayer will not let us Yanks use their platform.
Bastards. Yeah. But with that said, I think we should get everyone's thoughts on this episode. Steven, what did you think of it?
Well, fortunately enough, I got to stay away from spoilers because I got to see it live. That's one of the only good parts about Push to Exit being knocked out in the first round, is that I just got to hang about the pits and see the fights live. And honestly, Carbide was casting a shadow over the pits, over the whole competition. The first moment that I walked in, like me and Shane and Anthony walked into the pits, you were just seeing these robots. It was like a war zone, or it was almost like wrestling. You know, when you see a guy that's just had his legs broken, being pulled away from the arena. Yeah. It was just all these machines lying there, devastated. Like, I got to see Coyote close up, and it was just destroyed. Like, any roboteer that I spoke to said Carbide is brutal this year. We're so incredibly afraid of them. So even when I was sitting in the arena watching the fights happen, I was going, there's nothing stopping Carbide. I can't see a robot that's left in the grand final stopping them. I was worried about concussion going in as well, because with their bar spinner, it didn't look like they had the reach to actually get at another competitor. Aftershock, I had such high hopes for.
Oh.
If there was one machine that was going to stop Carbide for me, I really thought it was going to be Aftershock, because they had that big vertical disc, and they went with the option of putting the bar spinner on it for that fight, which really confused me. That's the first time I ever saw that weapon was in that battle.
It looks good.
And
yeah, it was good, because, if they had put the disc on, it probably would have broken half.
Yeah, had they put the vertical flywheel on, they would have been worse for wear if they just, instead of just using the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's got a wider kind of feel to
thicker.
it, and it's much thicker, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, this episode, I heard a lot of I heard a lot of good stuff about this episode. It's like one of the best grand finals ever, one of the most destructive grand finals ever.
I'll get my feelings into it when we talk about the final itself, but a bit of a spoiler on my behalf, I think last year's was better, and I'll get to why in a moment.
Because I think we should go through the roster of these robots. Apollo got the wild card, which I don't know. On one hand, I think it's kind of fair, because Thor, God bless Jason, he got the wild card last year, and someone else had to get it this year, and it had to be the reigning champions, because they went out in their heat. They needed to have a second go, add a little bit more star power to it, which I'm okay with it. But at the same time, it really there wasn't really a whole lot of variety in terms of weapons this year, because you had 4 spinners and 2 flippers, and that was it.
Yeah, basically. I personally thought it would have gone with Thor, because, like, in terms of spinners, it didn't really get... The most robot that gave it a lot of trouble was concussion, and even so, like, those blows, it flipped the bot over, but it wasn't enough to, like, do any serious damage to it.
What were your guys' thoughts on the wild card choice?
Honestly, I was shocked that they went with Apollo. I really was, because part of me thought that a bit of intelligence would have won the day, and they would have went for Thor again, because Thor has that great thick front sort of bucket scoop on it almost, and I think it could have stood up to a lot of the hits from the various spinners that we had in the grand final. Apollo, though, did surprise me, because, again, I saw it in the pits after the heat final with Carbide. That machine was destroyed, and you saw Dave and the rest of the team feverishly trying to put this thing back together again. So whenever I saw the first round melee, I was watching Apollo the whole time, just waiting for this thing to get destroyed. It stood up to its attacks. Everything that it suffered very, very well, I thought. Now, it was a bit of a shame what happened with the arena floor. Yeah. But even had that not happened, I still think it would have went down exactly the same way. It was just a matter of time before Aftershock got a good hit in on it and just left it immobilized.
Steven?
No, James.
Oh, Jim. Sorry.
I was very shocked as well because when I saw I gave in, I looked at the video on the website, I looked at it and I was like, oh, it'll spoil the wild card. I was looking, I was like, expecting to see the red, the red robot of Thor. Just I was like, Apollo, what? I was like, I was generally confused because okay, I mean, some people are saying, well, it's nice to have. I mean, if Thor had got it twice in a row, it would have been kind of, a bit samey. But honestly, out the two, I think Thor edged it slightly in its performance because by the end of the heat, Apollo was very battered by Carbide after its 2 battles of Carbide, but Thor was probably the most working robot out of the ones that were left. It managed to last a full 3 minutes against Concussion. It probably had one of the better heat finals, and I just felt like Thor would have just stood up a bit better in this heat, and I wasn't very surprised that Apollo went the way it did because I mean it was against Aftershock, and Aftershock is a very powerful spinner as well, and it can really. I mean, it managed to launch terahertz into the air pretty high. So
that was one of the best moments of the season.
I mean,
and that
actually,
one monster hit that they gave Apollo as well. I mean, that was head to head, and they just sent it cartwheeling into the arena sidewall.
But it was. I mean, honestly, looking at the robots it was against, I just didn't see Apollo ever going past the first round because I mean, the amount of spinners in this grand final, it already proved it couldn't even go against Carbide, and that's the most powerful spinner in the tournament. So against something like Aftershock, or maybe not Ironside 3, but definitely Aftershock at least, it was certainly not going to. It wasn't going to survive, and it's just a shame I never got to see Thor again. But oh well, hopefully Thor for Series 10.
Well, at least it's one stage up from choosing Sabretooth for the wild card.
Yeah.
Or Cherub. Can you imagine if they selected Cherub?
Oh, that would have
Part
been
of
sad.
me actually wanted them to select Cherub for the wild card.
I part of me did too, just for variety's sake. Because as the old saying goes, variety's the spice of life.
That Cherub kind of sort of was one of the few Heat finalists who wasn't completely obliterated. Because
we'll get to that part.
Yeah, well, I guess we can get started with the battles, huh?
Righty. So let's start out with the first melee. Eruption versus Apollo versus Aftershock.
The 3 most powerful robots in the UK, I would say. And in the beginning few seconds of this match, nobody wanted to go near each other. They were so terrified of what would happen if they fought each other.
It's like that one match with Antonio Inoki versus Muhammad Ali where they didn't even touch each other for like several minutes.
They were being heelish, being cowardly. But yeah.
I think the big issue with it is all 3 knew that the other 2 were incredibly powerful, so they didn't play attack. They played defense. So that's why you had that at the start where they were all kind of almost sizing each other up.
If I was in Dave's shoes, I would have teamed up with Apollo Eruption to take out Aftershock, but that's just me.
Yeah. So basically, they're dancing around for a bit, and then Apollo manages to get underneath Aftershock, flip it. Aftershock goes spinning right through the air, crashing into Eruption.
And it does the thing.
It does the thing, but it managed to get back onto its wheels.
Yeah, Aftershock did the thing several times in this episode.
But yeah, this show, Aftershock, it's dangerous, it's nasty, even when it's like, when you flip it and send it spinning, it just smashes into everything in sight. And then Apollo goes for another charge, but gets wedged underneath the arena floor, and that allows Aftershock to get another whack in on it.
And then they had to stop the match, of course.
Yeah, I think this might be, I don't know if this has happened before, but this may be the first robot event I've seen where a match was stopped because the floor got damaged.
I think so. I mean, the wall's been damaged multiple times, but even in the older series, it got damaged, especially in Series 7, but yeah. I can't think of a single time where the match been stopped because the floor's broken.
Could you imagine if they were still using the old arena?
Like, oh, God.
Jesus.
I know, I remember, I think this was a few years ago, they had a roaming robots event, or when it was called Robot Wars, and I think Behemoth and TR2 were in this match, but the arena floor got damaged, and then they were like, just to hell with this, and then all the robots just started attacking the floor and started ripping the floorboards up, and it looked like the arena at the end of the Mick Foley Terry Funk match, in that hardcore match, where there's just debris everywhere.
The no ropes exploding barbed wire match.
Just complete carnage. But yeah, they had to stop the match. They had to fix the floor, because I guess they were afraid that a robot would fall through the floor again or something. So the match restarts. Apollo goes for the pit release button, but Aftershock just gets behind it, and BAM!
That was a great hit.
Massive hit.
Normally you expect the smaller robots to go flying. Like, if it hit Foxic or, I'm trying to think of, like, I guess Jellyfish and send it flying, it would have been pretty good, but, like, Apollo is just so bulky, and to send such a bulky robot flying into the pit release tire...
Yeah.
I mean, I truly knew Aftershock was something special when it flipped terahertz in its heat, and then, my god, the hit against Apollo, I mean, it got hit so badly, like, it's kind of sad seeing it just kind of lying there, because, like, you see all, like, the CO2 slowly coming out of the robot as it's just dying right next to the arena wall, and it just... I mean, that hit is probably one of the best hits of the entire series, just purely for the... I mean, Apollo did get launched. Literally, and unfortunately, it's not Apollo that should be getting launched, but in this case, they seem to be. And yeah, I mean, Eruption did the very, very safe thing of not getting as involved in, because look what happened to Apollo when you get too involved in the battle.
Yeah. Aftershock pulled an Ivan Drago on Apollo. Quite sad.
Houston, this is ground control. You are clear for takeoff.
And unfortunately, that would be the last major hit from Aftershock the rest of the tournament, because the rest of this episode, oh boy.
So Team Apollo is blasting off again.
Yeah, champions out once again. So Aftershock goes through with Eruption, who, they took some damage, but it managed to come through mostly intact, I think. Which
the only thing it did was flip over. Actually, no, that was Apollo, wasn't it? It landed because Aftershock landed on top of Eruption, but apart from that, it didn't do that much damage, I don't think.
Yep, and with that said, we move on to our second match, which is quite literally Spin City. Concussion versus Carbide versus Ironside 3. This did not last long, because both horizontal spinners decided to take out poor Concussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I saw this matchup, I mean, I love Concussion and all, but but over time, the more like when I started seeing like Aftershock, Ironside 3, Pulsar, and I start looking at them and thinking to myself, they're screwed. They're just absolutely screwed. I mean, even Eruption could flip them out the arena very easily, because I mean, unlike the other spinners, they've got such little reach on the drum compared to something like Carbide or Ironside 3, where they've got the bars much larger, so they had to get very close up to him. And honestly, do you want to get close to a Carbide? No.
Unless you're nuts.
So, yeah, literally.
Steve, your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I genuinely agree. I felt so bad for Concussion, because it just felt like the second that Activate was called, both Ironside 3 and Carbide thought, right, time to go for Concussion. I was very worried about Concussion in the grand final, if I'm being honest. And fair play to them. They put up a what fight that they could, but it just seemed to me that the other two teams had seen Concussion's previous fights, and they knew they were a robot not to be underestimated, because we saw that fight in the head-to-heads with Concussion and Thor. So it seemed to me both of them realized this was the guy that could sort of bring it back and take them out. So I think it was very sneaky, it was very tactical, but I liked that.
Yeah, so it didn't last all that long. Carbide did get a hit on Ironside 3's back, took out the Shremek, so that was useless for the rest of the series. Carbide and Ironside, they got hits on Concussion, and eventually Concussion was basically dead, and that was it.
They gave Concussion you finish the sentence.
A headache.
I mean, to their credit, though, they didn't get completely destroyed as much as other robots. I mean, it still vaguely looked like concussion after the battle. It just got ripped up enough, but oh well.
Well, you know what? For a first run, these guys, they're new kids on the block. I give credit to them. They managed to make it to the grand final.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see them come back.
I hope that we see Tim and his mohawk again.
Yeah.
They did say, though, if they are coming back, they are not using the same motors as last time, because it seemed to be a robot they had to repair almost every single round. So if they come back again, they'll probably make it more reliable.
Actually, I actually had an event that I went to a couple weeks ago. It was the Pennsylvania College of Technology Sword event. And basically, if you thought the Robot Wars format that they're using this year is completely wacky, basically, the format is you get to compete in three-way matches. You're guaranteed at least 3 matches, and depending on how well you do in the match, you get a certain number of points to make the top 8. Mondo Bizarro was having I managed to make the top 8, but I was having all kinds of issues with my drive motors. The gearboxes would constantly break off the motors, so there's a lot of times where I'm either stuck spinning around in circles or just moving very slowly. Somehow I managed to win 2 of those matches, despite me just completely wrecked motor spinning around in circles, and it's really funny. The top 8 robots who get the most points manage to make it through to the final rounds, and that's basically what Mondo, basically the same scenario for Concussion did. They were having all kinds of problems, but they still managed to make it through to the final, which I give them credit for that. I mean, with all this, with all the robots they had to face, they still managed to squeak out victory, and kudos to them.
Major kudos.
Yep.
So now we get to the head-to-heads, and can I give my little rant as to why I didn't think this final was as good as last year's?
Yeah.
I don't know. As you know, Brandon and I are big fans of Sam Elliott's podcast, and during his review of Battle of the Stars, he had Dave Laurie of Jellyfish on, and Dave Laurie, he had a little rant about how spinner versus spinner battles are usually very boring.
Yeah.
Because at least with, if you have 2 robots with inactive weapons, pushing contests are at least fun to watch.
Kinda.
See, example, and I have to thank Jimjamatic for pointing me in the direction of this fight. Thing 2 versus Altork from Series 3.
Yeah, that was a fun match.
Both robots pushing each other back and forth. Or probably the best fight from Series 3, 101 versus King Buxton.
Yep.
I'd in fact take that to another level. I'd compare it to a previous grand final, the first round match between Storm 2 and Tornado.
Yeah, that was a good match
honestly,
too.
Yeah.
When I watched that as a kid, and just seeing the 2 of them kind of throw each other at the arena sidewall, I was jumping up out of my seat watching it.
I mean, even 2 flipper robots. Look at TR2 and Apollo last grand final.
Yeah,
that was amazing. Watching those 2 going into
my favorite flipper versus flipper match is always going to be Cyros versus Saint Agro from Series 7.
Oh yeah, that was a good match.
Oh man, that was good.
So good.
Yeah, and it's again, going back to the PCT event, all 8 finalists at that event were spinners, so a lot of them were very short. And the same thing, basically, the same kind of scenario happens with this grand final, because usually it was spinner-on-spinner action, and a lot of the matches only lasted about 30 seconds. And even Angela said during one of the interviews with Carbide, all of Carbide's matches up until this point were under a minute. Or actually, at least one-on-one matches, because I think wasn't the round 1 match with Mega Mouse and everyone that was.
I didn't time any of this. I'm not a stat geek.
Especially considering how much they edit. I don't know if it was 3 minutes or not, but yeah. So but this first match, Eruption versus Ironside 3.
This was probably the best match of the final.
I don't know. There was one match I liked a little later, but Eruption, the only non-spinner in this event, or in this grand final, going up against Ironside 3. There was a really awesome moment where Eruption gets underneath Ironside 3. Ironside 3 just takes off like a helicopter going through the air. It was amazing. And, yeah, but basically, Ironside 3's Shremek arm was still completely goozled from the fight with Carbide, so they got flipped over, and they couldn't self-right, and that was basically it from there. But
you knew that Eruption knew that. You knew that Eruption's goal was to turn Ironside 3 over. But the way they did it, to me, it felt very clunky. Mm-hmm. It felt like Eruption were kind of panicking almost. They were like, look, we need to get underneath him and flip it over. And the way they did it, it almost felt like it was done not on purpose.
It almost wasn't, because I mean, Eruption did flip him, and Ironside 3 landed on their wheels, and then it's their own spinner that flipped them over. Not actually, it wasn't actually Eruption. It was sort of, that's what ended up getting them onto their back. And I mean, one thing I like the fact when you mentioned before about getting launched like a helicopter. One thing I've always noticed about Ironside 3 is like if it's like flipped by the arena flipper, or in this case Eruption, it always stays at the same level, like vertical, not horizontal. It always stays horizontally, like it is gliding.
Maybe that's why Trevor Wright put its blade at an angle.
Yeah, angled spinner to keep yourself gyroscopically stable.
I mean, Ironside 3 was doing well up until that unfortunate flip, because they actually were. I mean, considering that Eruption is, sort of a good robot, probably one of the best robots to take them out. It did bend the flipper up slightly.
Yeah, I think at that point, Michael wanted to get it over and done with, because once the flipper was dented, it's like, oh dear, we got to get him over, otherwise we might not win this, because our weapon is all dinged up. It might not work. We got to get this beast repaired and get it going for the next few matches. So yeah, Eruption wins by KO. And we move on to a very anticipated match. There was a lot of hype going into this match, and really there wasn't much to it. Although it did have one really amazing little moment.
Amazing as it was dangerous.
Yes. Aftershock versus Carbide. Aftershock, like we said, put the bar spinner on there. Yeah. There was about, 3 hits in this match? Basically,
all of them were from Carbide. I expected more from Aftershock in this fight. Like, I expected them to last a little longer.
Yeah.
I mean, even Ray Billings gets more mileage in some of his fights.
Yeah, well, but you know what? These bots just aren't. I don't know. They aren't on the same kind of like big, really heavy, strong caliber as like the big super heavyweight robots you see on BattleBots. I mean, I don't know, but
I'm not really sure why they didn't go for the big disc on Aftershock. I mean, I can understand it might get destroyed.
Yeah, Carbide probably would have broken it in half.
Yeah, that's why.
Because you got that space in between with the bar spinner. It's just one big thick.
It's a solid chunk of metal.
Yeah, like Carbide. That blade probably would have sliced right through the disc.
Maybe, but I was thinking maybe it would have worked on the tactic of maybe trying to launch Carbide into the air, because that's the power of Aftershock's disc, is it is able to lift robots really high by launching them. So I would have thought maybe that might have been the tactic to try and get them, like, shake a few electronics or something like that. But it didn't really. Imagine, no matter what disc they used, Carbide managed to completely shred them.
Yeah. And so after a couple of hits, Aftershock is dead. So Carbide unleashes the power of Ray Billings to deliver one more hit on Aftershock. He's moving in, and then my video starts buffering.
Oh no!
So I had to start all the way back to where. Oh yeah, this was funny. I forgot to mention right before the match started, the camera cuts to Liam Bryant with the Aftershock.
Yeah.
He screams, "Activate!"
Yes. Congratulations, Liam! You've made the big time.
I hope he brings Stormforce into Series 10. That'd be awesome.
Hey, I hope we see you. Of course. Hey, come on, Brandon. Let's be honest. We know everyone wants to see Eric in the next war.
Yes, Eric.
Yes, we do.
Eric is
life. I need my Eric.
Okay, that's the only Eric joke we're making on this podcast.
So after rewinding and rebuffering and waiting for the video to rebuffer. I go back to watch the fight, and Carbide gets that big hit on Aftershock. An entire side panel of Aftershock goes flying clean across the arena and embeds itself straight through the Lexan wall. And I don't mean just like stuck there, just like straight through.
I didn't even see this fight live. I came to the event a little bit later on that day, and everyone had photos of it on their phone. I looked at it and I couldn't work it out because so much of that panel had actually managed to penetrate the arena sidewall with only sort of a little bit of it at the end, kind of holding it on, and I just couldn't work out how that had happened.
It was like in Final Destination 2 where that barbed wire just went straight through that guy. Or no, or to make it better, the original Final Destination when that piece of sheet metal went right through the guy's head, the train just decapitates the guy. That's like.
Well, after you saying that, thank God for plexiglass.
Thank God for Lexan.
Hey,
imagine if it was the original arena where the cameramen are still outside
man.
I mean, honestly, this piece of metal was it was just launched in the most perfect way, and obviously Aftershock had to have a very, very pointy arrow-like side panel. And it was just perfect enough to go straight for Lexan, and thank goodness there are 2 layers. Because
we're looking at a picture of it right now. There's a little spiral, of where the Lexan is peeled.
Jesus, it's just a brilliant. I mean, I've never seen something quite like that. It's just wow. And it's just like, in case you didn't know which robot it fell off. You can see that.
I can expect multiple memes coming out of this. Like maybe somebody puts a caption like "Hooray for Lexan" or something, just labeled on the screen or something.
Hey, Will Thomas, he's updated, gave us a little update about this. And when I say us, I mean all of social media. He still has that panel of Aftershock, and he's now mounting it on his wall.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that story is basically, that's Dara's little story now. Anytime he's promoting Robot Wars on any of the shows in the UK, that's always the story he tells. He says, these robots now, they're so powerful. There was one that actually had a piece of its armor removed, and it actually pierced the arena sidewall. And what was so great about it was the name of the beaten robot was written on the side of it. So, ha 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 ha. You know, I'm so sick of hearing that story now.
Yeah. Nice impression, by the way.
Well,
thanks very much.
He's got the.
I'm Irish myself. We all.
It's not a Dara and Bray impression until you go eh.
It's like a giant. It's like a giant teeth went through the wall. Like somebody bit into it and got its teeth jammed into the wall.
Oh,
and got his teeth jammed into the wall. Yeah. I was actually talking to Ellis. No, sorry, who was I talking to? Yeah, I was. I was talking to Ellis from Pulsar, and he said that Dara has just basically given up trying to speak the English language now. So it gets to the point now where he'll start a sentence normally and then just sort of mutter for the rest of it. So he'll start off by saying, "This is Robot Wars," and how is it?
Well.
I don't know. Maybe someday we'll have Craig Charles back. Right now he's doing the Gadget Show.
Yes, he is.
I don't mind Dara. I don't mind Dara. I would like to see Craig back, but Craig was good for the classic series.
Yeah.
Well,
I think and Anthony, and I think we'd be good as presenters and pit reporters.
You guys would be great.
What if? Yeah, you'd be perfect.
I mean, the thing about
you have on your show your green. You got the picture of you on your green screen in the back. It really looks like you could be the next Craig Charles, the next Mick Foley, the next Amit Zappa,
or Kenny Florian.
Oh, you'd be better than Kenny Florian. Come on.
Kenny Florian grew on me, but yeah, when it comes to commentary, he's no Jonathan Pierce.
No.
Oh god. See, I think if me and Anthony take over Robot Wars, then yourselves need to take over BattleBots if it gets a third season.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
as wacky as Nate is, I'm sure he has the charisma for it.
Oh yes.
Like, you
I
know,
mean, my
and,
only...
and the guy that does the BattleBots update, he needs to start doing the commentary.
Mr. Psycho.
Oh,
Not Mr. Psycho.
No.
Crumbs. I forget his name. Jara's. Jason.
Let's not.
I'm not. I'm gonna.
Yeah, let's give up.
Let's give up. Let's move
Yeah,
on.
let's give up. Let's give up just by saying hashtag give Robot Wars to the fans.
Yes. Hashtag BattleBots Season 3.
Yes.
Indeed.
We can only
We-
hope.
I mean,
We talked more.
I mean, my only problem...
Or you want to give your thoughts, Jim?
No, I was gonna say the only thing I don't like about Dara being presented. I mean, I like him, but my only problem is that unlike Craig Charles in the classic series, where he got to say have an opening monologue with some comedy in it, Dara he's actually a comedian, and all he does is say what the arena has every time. There's there's nothing really funny. There's nothing kind of made. He just does the same speech every episode. And I want to see him. I mean, he's funny in the pit, but.
Yeah, I agree. with you.
Sometimes it almost feels like they're reusing the same footage.
It feels like it.
I remember that they had Legends of the Hidden Temple on Nickelodeon. That they completely reused the same shot of Kirk Fogg swinging in on the rope.
And we just gave our good friends in UK and Ireland something to look up after the show.
Yes.
I'll need.
If you like the Crystal Maze, it's kind of like that.
Except
it's like Jungle. I was like Jungle Run.
It's kind of like that, except you're trying to go through a giant structure that's has multiple rooms in it, and then and you have to do certain objectives, and you have to do all this in 3 minutes.
And we're getting off track. Let's get to Eruption.
Yeah, we've gone like that. The match went 30 seconds. We've been talking about this for 10 minutes.
I'm gonna say Robot Wars is bad for filler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Move on to our next match, Eruption versus Carbide. I don't know. This seemed like would this be the closest we'd see to maybe Chaos 2 versus Hypnodisc if they had a rematch? Because they both look very similar.
I'd say Chaos 2 would have won its rematch with Hypnodisc, because even if Hypnodisc was a lot more powerful, it still had a yawning ground clearance for Chaos 2 to get under.
Yeah.
If
I would ever imagine a rematch with Chaos 2 and Hypnodisc, all I can really see happening is Hypnodisc maybe tearing off the front plastic on Chaos 2, then Chaos 2 gets one flip in, turns it over, Hypnodisc is trying to self-right, Chaos 2 pushes it to the arena sidewall and gets it out.
Yeah, and I'm sorry Chaos 2 and Hypnodisc fans, but Eruption and Carbide, they're just more powerful than these two. This is a whole new generation, a whole new breed of robot. It
was just Carbide. Eruption got some good defense in, but for the most part, they just got battered by Carbide.
Yeah, and Eruption, it was leaking CO2 everywhere. It was nasty.
It genuinely did start off well, because Eruption were kind of deflecting those blasts from Carbide, and it was more Carbide's disc kind of throwing it around the arena. And I was watching it with great interest. I was sort of going, oh, this is not how I expected this to start off at all. But then, of course, Carbide came in, got a couple of hits with a blade, and Eruption were kind of left dead in the water after that.
Yeah, it was it was a short match, but it did have some memorable moments in this. It was really funny seeing Carbide just spinning out of control.
Gyro dancing's always fun.
Yeah. You know, I actually thought of some really messed up design when I was really younger. Basically, it would be 2 spinning discs on a spinning arm, which would...
I've done that in Robot Arena 2. It is mental.
If it works in a Robot Arena 2, it would not work at all in real life.
I beg to differ. It doesn't even work in Robot Arena 2.
Wait, 2 spinning...
Oh, actually, if you need a picture of it for the podcast, I can send you what I've done. But my God, it does not work. Yeah. I had to have 4 spikes on it just to keep it stable, and even then, it flies all over the place.
Yeah, please send us this picture.
I will send you. I'll send you it. It's fucking mental.
We'll flash it up on the screen now that you've brought it up.
Any final thoughts on this match? It was rather short, but
there's not much to really say. A lot of it was just kind of Eruption getting some good, sustaining early on, and then Carbide eventually wearing it down and breaking the CO2, and then it died.
All right. I think before we get on to this next match, we should talk about Aftershock.
Oh man, this was actually made for good TV with Will and Ian trying to fix Aftershock.
Yeah, they poured water on it, trying to cool it down, give it a cool down before its next round.
Tape.
Duct tape. Yeah, hey,
honestly, any team that uses duct tape on their robot gets an instant win from me. That was beautiful.
Duct tape fixes anything.
Yes, it.
Maybe. Hey, Nick White from Team Memento Mori, you're listening to this? That's some advice for when you build your next machine, whatever.
So
it is.
he's going to build the armor's going to be made out of duct tape.
well, to be fair, wasn't a few bots from the earlier series made out of duct tape? I mean, I looked at what was the UFO looking bot from Series 1?
Reality.
Reality.
Reality is made out of like mesh metal.
It looked like mesh, and it looked like duct tape on the top.
It looked like it looked
I
like
would
a
say
plate
like
of
spaghetti.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the likes of Napalm and Robot Wars Extreme. I think who were the fighting Thermidor 2?
Oh,
and
God.
just the robot was more kind of duct tape and hazard tape than it was actually.
That was ball. That was ridiculous.
I mean, didn't Apollo use duct tape this series after Carbide?
I'm pretty sure they did.
I saw some like
they always
X
put
marks on it.
X sticker, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw Apollo, because that was the first fight I saw live as Apollo against Coyote. I just saw it limping in, and I was just like, what happened to it? And I just, Sam turned to me and said, "Oh, Carbide fucked up," and I was like, ah.
Yeah.
Cherub,
right, that's
Cherub had duct tape on their robot, and it said, "Please don't flip us."
And for the record, my first robot was a biohazard toy with aluminum sheets duct taped to it. So,
actually, one thing I want to
my biohazard into a little Storm 2 pullback.
oh, nice.
Oh.
Nice.
One thing I'll note about Aftershock, actually, when you see it, like when they're trying to get it ready, you see it's actually been signed by the Tomahawk team. It has the Dutch girls on the back of it.
Yeah, it says Dutch Girls Rock or something on the back.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cute.
That's clearly the Tomahawk people, because they're the only Dutch girls in the team.
I thought maybe Will went to Holland for an event and somebody just went graffitied it.
Hey,
It was kind of funny also watching them both trying to like arguing about putting like rushing track of it. It was like when you're arguing with like your spouse or something, like trying to fit something into a car and it won't fit.
Yeah, God, I absolutely love that part of the show, and that's what I like. I want to see more of that in Robot Wars, because remember last year we had that whole setup between Craig from Foxic and I forget the other thing. I think it was Shockwave, where he was basically saying, "Oh no, it was between Foxic and Thor," where they were kind of having that sort of banter, and it felt forced. It felt like it was almost made for TV.
Yeah.
Whereas seeing the genuine sort of back and forth between Will and Ian, it felt real. It felt like a father-son dynamic.
Yeah.
And it was kind of capped off right at the end,
Or
whenever Ian was kind of dragging Aftershock away to the arena, and Will was kind of trying to chase after
Yeah.
him. That was brilliant.
hey, if you want to talk about team dynamics, just look at John Reed in the very first game. Wait for a good hit. Wait for a good hit.
Wait for a good hit.
Oh, social media, I really think, put a damper on it, because they really think, because, I mean, between the whole Behemoth controversy and the whole Foxic controversy, it's like, they just seem to, like, target and just go after some of the most bullshit issues that happen in this show, and it's like, they don't understand. You need to try and play along with it. Like with Aftershock, they're going through all this insanity trying to get their robot working. They had to strip the whole thing down, empty it, and then clean it, and then just get it all back together. It's like, it's ridiculousness, but it makes for good TV, and you just got to accept that kind of stuff.
I would have totally marked out if Ian or Will just went full on Shane Swan and started hitting it with a hammer.
That's actually my role on the team. I'm the guy that keeps the hammers away from Shane.
Damn you!
Shane, calm down. No.
So yeah, I think we may as well get on to Aftershock versus Ironside 3.
And definitely the tape did not stand.
Wow.
I thought tape was illegal in Robot Combat because it's
No,
kind of an entanglement
if it's a weapon, but if it's
okay.
used maybe to like stick protect something like that, like for Mondo Bizarro, I have a hole in the back for the link, and I just cover it up with a piece of duct tape, which sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, because I remember there was, I don't know the name of it, but it was like a 3-way robot on the old battle bots or something.
Swarm.
I think that may have been it. It was basically just 3 boxes that had 3 rolls of duct tape on the top that unfurled as it drove across the arena.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that thing. It's such a cheap, stupid robot. I remember that thing. Oh, I remember watching it because I had a I remember watching it because I think I had like a video of that, of like the highlights from that series. I was just like, oh, I hated that thing. It's just taping everything up, like, because I couldn't do anything about it. But I will say though, actually, in this battle, there is a good picture of Aftershock. If you go on the wiki, it's you can tell that Aftershock they've taken lessons from PP3D of creating their own firework, taking their own firework display.
A Roman candle in there.
All right,
just completely sparking.
I guess I should say it for old time's sake, because I probably will never have to say it again. Oh, we've blown her up now, boys.
Yeah, that's a great picture. Of course, this was actually a hell of a match while it lasted. I mean, both robots were just beating the ever-living hell out of each other. Mm-hmm. And then, as you said, Aftershock, fireworks. It basically, the weapon self-destructed. But
and then it got taken out by the spikes.
The dreaded...
damn those spikes.
The floor dildo returns.
That annoying arena spike.
It's like, I thought about this, like, it really, you know how Behemoth was always the unluckiest robot in Robot Wars? Like, something messed up would always happen to it involving robots and such. And it's like, all that bad luck, it all came together and just unleashed itself on Aftershock in this episode. Getting destroyed by Carbide, check. Getting hit by the floor spike, check. Breaking down when you're on top in a match, check.
Weapons
it's like
blowing up.
Oh my god, I felt so bad for Will in this match. Like, I expected them to go all the way to the last round, and they probably could have, but it just wasn't meant to be. It's like bad luck at every turn, and also after the floor spike flipped Aftershock, it ended up doing the thing.
Yep.
Yeah, like we have this phrase over here in the Northeast where we are, where if you get stuck on your own weapon, it's called doing the thing. And Aftershock got stuck on its disc. Like, I know Will Thomas at the beginning of the series said he was afraid that his robot wouldn't self-right, but it could self-right every way it could. But as soon as the weapon stopped working and it got stuck on there, that was it for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's rough. What did you guys think of this match?
It was brutal. I mean, honestly, Ironside 3 definitely did what they had to do. I mean, the amount of times Ironside 3 went flying just off the impacts of trying to break Aftershock, but it was sort of a foregone conclusion, really. If Ironside 3 was able to, obviously Ironside 3 is a robot that's good at keeping its distance when attacking, and the robot's taped up, so it's already not going to last very long, and then its motor starts, sparking, and then it gets flipped over by the spike, and it was just like everything that could have gone wrong for Aftershock went wrong in this battle, and it was sort of kind of anticlimactic at the end, really. It just got hit by the spike, and that was it. But at least it saved him from further hits from Ironside 3, so I guess it was something.
I don't know, because even without the disc, Aftershock still had the wedge, so it was still able to withstand the hits. I don't know, because if you could really get a good hit on Ironside, you could flip it over, but I don't know, because there were a couple times Aftershock just went right into Ironside and almost got it over, but then it got hit by the floor dildo and boom, out. Steven, any last thoughts on this match before we go on?
Well, I absolutely agree with all of your points there. The only thing I can really say is that you can sort of compare Aftershock to some of the other machines that have reached the grand final stage before, particularly the likes of Exterminator in the Seventh Wars. Absolutely brutal all throughout their heat and the semi-final. gets to the grand final, and then unfortunately it's just outclassed by all these spinners that are way more powerful and also bigger as well from the fifth person, where it would just get absolutely destroyed. And yet they worked so hard to rebuild it, but you knew it just wasn't up to the level it was before it got trashed.
Yeah, to think that this robot killed everybody in its heat, and it took out the reigning champion, and then poof, that was it. It's a shame. Well, you know what? Things like this happen. I think there's two really frustrating ways to lose a match. One is either when you're on top and then your robot just breaks down, and number two is when your robot just goes in and just isn't working. Like it's tough.
And
honestly,
also the movable link as well. That's
oh yeah. But honestly,
why can't can you put duct tape around that thing to just keep it from not popping out?
The way removable links work is they have to be able to be removed after a fight with no tools. So you can put duct tape on it, perhaps, just as long as you can easily take the duct tape off, or Velcro. Velcro is a great thing, like a little Velcro strip that kind of holds the thing in place, and then after the fight's ended, you can just rip that off and pull the link out.
Yeah, this was rough, but yeah.
Honestly, I really think, like, based on the editing alone, does anyone else think that Ian lost his mind after that fight? There's a bit in it where he says, to lose a fight like that, and it sounds like he's going to keep talking, but the camera cuts away from him. Yeah. I really
think you know what? I would be just as equally pissed. You're doing a good match, and then you get hit by bullshit.
Yeah. I think he started trying to wreck the set. He was ready to punch Darren in the face. I think he was going to lose his mind.
Thank goodness that Swanee wasn't in the area with his hammer. Otherwise, he would have been able to grab the first.
I'd get one look from him. I'd grab his whole bunch because he has a whole pile of hammers. I'd just grab them, stick them into a box, and start running for the door.
Just throw him in the skip with Worm.
See, that's the thing. Shane would probably go over, pull out the remains of Worm, and start trashing people by beating them over the head with the remains.
The thing is that he has hammers. Does he also go for the comedy anvil, or is he?
No. He's too preoccupied with his hammers. I think he's trying to get a replica of Thor's hammer made, so he can go about beating people with it.
You got Mr. Psycho's hammer.
Yeah,
would he be able to lift that thing?
I'm sure he could in the right circumstances.
As rinky dink as some people say Mr. Psycho's hammer is, he probably could kill somebody with it.
Oh yeah,
like a human being. He'd go complete Triple H on somebody.
Yeah, 30-kilo club traveling at 60 miles an hour. That is not something I want on top of my head. Thank you very much.
No. So yeah, Ironside 3 gets another win by knockout, and we move on to a real clash. Carbide versus Ironside 3. Two horizontal spinners facing off against each other.
This was actually pretty exciting for a spinner versus spinner fight, I will admit.
Yeah. Because
Ironside 3 and Sam and Anderson talked about this in their show, but Ironside 3's... I mean, they do get hits in it, but it's a very tactical kind of spinner. They're not just going in to cause carnage. They're hitting you in a very precise place.
And it's not just that as well. Like, whenever they do that, whenever they get a hit in, they know it takes longer to get that bar back up to speed. So I like what they did in this fight, where they hit Carbide, they turned and ran to get that disc back up to speed. Then they did the full 180, flipped back around, and hit them again.
Yeah, because I was on Sam's. I was the person on Sam's podcast that said about the tactical stuff. Because I mean, Ironside 3 is my favorite spinner in the series for a reason, because of that tactical nature of it. I mean, the only problem I think Ironside 3 had, which could have been a downfall for it, which I think ends up being its downfall a few times against Carbide, was the fact that whenever it has to get its spinner spinning, it always turns round, faces its back, and then runs away, and then. If Carbide was a faster robot, they could have got straight in the back of them and completely mauled them. But in the end, it was this is actually my favorite battle of the grand final, for the reason that it's very tactical and it's not just Carbide going straight in and killing them in one hit or ripping their armor off and stuff. It's like it was actually the only match I think Carbide could have possibly lost. If Ironside 3 had hit a wheel, I mean, Ironside 3 is like the perfect height to hit Carbide's wheel if he got the right part of it, but Carbide always has its spinner pointed constantly, so it was hard, but yeah, I enjoyed it for that reason anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so basically, yeah, a few hits, Carbide, but Carbide managed to come out on top, and Ironside 3 got knocked out. That was it. And of course, we needed to have drama in this match going into the grand final because Carbide, it looks like it's not working very well.
Oh yes, it isn't. It's damaged.
Oh no! What's wrong with it?
It's got a slight chip. Oh no! It still worked fine though, so I don't know. Seemed fine.
Oh.
I mean,
it's but a scratch.
Stupid minor inconveniences.
It's like Carbide's going at 11 miles an hour. Calm down. Oh.
It's like if you're watching BattleBots and they say that, oh, Tombstone's having problems, and then you just see it has a small paint chip in its blade.
Yeah, there was actually a picture of Tombstone after its match with Bombshell in the final. There was a big chip taken out of it from Bombshell's blade, and it was right above the chain. If Bombshell's blade was any lower, probably could have killed the chain. Yeah, so. But actually, this match actually was kind of reminiscent of Tombstone versus Bombshell in a little bit. Two very similar spinning horizontal bars just going into each other, but yeah. But it was another solid win by Carbide, and aside from that, they got all 3 knockouts for the grand total of maximum 9 points, and we'll move on to what I consider the best fight of the night: Eruption versus Aftershock.
All right, it was this fight was tense. I mean, at one point, Aftershock almost had it, and then out of nowhere, like near the end, both robots were barely moving, and Aftershock unfortunately broke down. Which I don't know what happened to it.
Batteries ran out probably because I don't know. I think you were there, Steve. Was there a really long? How long did it take for the match to be restarted after the arena was damaged? Did it take several minutes or several seconds?
Well, sorry to disappoint. I wasn't actually there for that fight.
Damn it. Yeah, maybe from all that time it took to get it restarted, the batteries just ran out or something. I don't know. Because the thing is about these big spinners, you use a lot of battery power out of it, and there have been matches where you're just going full blast with the disc the entire time. Like, particularly there was a there was a part where Aftershock was stuck on its back. So you're just going. So Will was just going full throttle on the weapon, just trying to get itself back onto its wheels, and you're using up all that energy on your battery. So, there was a lot of battery meltingness going on in this. I don't know. We'll have to find out from Will when he does the Sam's podcast, which. Damn it, Sam! We were going to have Michael Oates on this show. How dare you take him from us?
I mean, I don't know.
I've lost all my trust in you.
I think Aftershock. It might have been like something to do with the motors rather than the battery, because the weapon was still functional. It just wasn't moving. So it might have been a speed controller or a chain-ish. I don't know. I clearly know loads about engineering, clearly, because I'm calling it chain thing. But I don't know. But it must have been something internal that. Screwed it over. It must have been that one hit when they got flipped over. After that, he didn't see it move again. So it might have just knocked something loose. But either way, both robots are pretty much dying by the end of that. I mean, you see Eruption when it tries to flip it, it barely lifts. It's like at the end of the battle.
I will say this though, and there's a reason why I consider this the best match of the night. It was a very back and forth match. I mean, Eruption was getting flips in, Aftershock was getting hits in. There was a really hilarious part where Aftershock goes into Dead Metal's corner patrol zone, and Aftershock just unleashes hell on Dead Metal's claw. It was just there was a giant tattoo right along the middle of it. Looked nasty. I would like to see Aftershock in a House Robot Rebellion just for the hell of it.
Well, this is a spoiler. Like, if you were to ask me who my 3 house robots that I'd pick for a modern House Robot Rebellion, I would have gone with PP3D, Gabriel, and Apollo.
Oh,
Yeah, sure.
one of each weapon. I like it.
Yeah, it's upsetting that Apollo didn't manage to get Kill-A-Lot over this season, but he made up for it for killing Goliath in the Robots Live event. And isn't Goliath like bigger than Kill-A-Lot?
I think he's about the same size, but I know he's a little bit heavier than Kill-A-Lot.
Wow.
Yeah. So Apollo can I'm sure Apollo can do it. It just wasn't able to this year. But...
Hopefully we will. Hopefully we'll see in Series 3.
Yep. So basically the two are going back and forth. The pit release button gets hit, and then you can see Aftershock is just going slower and slower and slower, and then finally just dies altogether, which is unfortunate. And here's an interesting note. If Aftershock had won this match by knockout, it would have been a 3-way tie between Aftershock, Eruption, and Ironside. And it would have to go to a judge's decision to decide who would go through to the final. Who would you have picked to go through to the final?
Ooh, I would have picked probably... It would be Ironside 3 or Eruption. I want to pick Aftershock because they got bad quite a bit. I don't know. I probably would go for Eruption, but it'd be very close between them and Ironside 3 for me. But yeah, probably Eruption for me.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, Eruption, because it would basically, even from just like a TV point of view, it would just basically be a final between two spinning bars. So it probably would have been Eruption that would have won the judge's decision.
So the final table overall for this for these rounds was Carbide in first with 9 points, Eruption with 6, Ironside 3 with 3, and Aftershock with 0.0, which is a shame.
Before we get to the main event, shall we give out awards?
Yeah.
Like our awards or something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do it.
All right, so best designed robot.
Jellyfish. No.
They actually only live up the road from me as well, so I better be careful what I say about Jellyfish,
cool.
otherwise Dave will be at my front door.
Well, yeah, well, he has like 1,000 robots that he built.
I've already got my idea for the best design, just purely because of how insane it is, and how out of the box it is Miss Nightshade.
Yes. Like it was mostly useless, but it was a really cool looking robot.
I'd probably go for Miss Nightshade as most original entry.
Ah, okay. Best design then. That's actually generally quite hard.
I would have got. My pick would be, believe it or not, you could say that this is a cop out because I'm taking kind of the safe route, but I'm actually gonna go with Eruption. It looks like it looks like it's a dragon. It's got some very nice breakaway bits. We didn't see much of its interchangeable weaponry, but it was a nifty idea. Plus, I just love the color scheme. Red, black, and yellow. It works very well.
Do you think Eruption would count as being part of the Barnyard series because it had the dragon-looking design on it?
Nope. No. It's. I mean, it's past pushing it. No, I mean, it's based off a volcanic eruption. I don't think you can really count. I'm not. Don't count that one. Actually,
Batty wings.
Oh, actually, that's tough for best design. Honestly,
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I have a soft spot for Coyote, even if it's not.
Oh yeah.
Even if it wasn't very effective in the series, I do like the Crowd Crusher with little chainsaw tails and homage. It's kind of a nice little design to it.
Best engineered.
Ooh, I mean, Carbide's got to be in there. I know it's cliche, but that robot didn't have a single fault this entire series. So
There was a lot of great. There was some good engineering stuff. Like Aftershock. Despite all the insanity it went through in the grand final, I thought it looked really good. And I know that they had a lot of issues with it, and it didn't really do well in the long front. But Rapid, because I really liked what they did with the gearboxes.
Well, Rapid was over-engineered to the point where it was unable to be fixed because it was too complicated. So,
like,
I don't know.
Carbide could win Best Engineer.
Yeah,
Most Destructive.
I guess I'd probably give it to Carbide in this case.
Yeah,
because they just didn't really have any major issues or problems with the robot. So I've got to give Best Engineer to Carbide.
Best Driver, Michael
Actually,
Oates, Eruption.
Yeah,
no contest.
No debate there. It has to be Michael
Oh,
Oates.
okay. Fair enough.
And the Alex Horn Cone Award for Most Destroyed.
Frostbite.
Frostbite.
The Rust in Pieces Award.
It's either Frostbite or Sabretooth for me. For just...
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, poor
I don't know. Sabretooth, I don't know. Like, Frostbite just disintegrated.
Most original entry.
Well, I think that's Miss Nightshade. If they
Yeah.
That's Miss Nightshade. What else
Best
is there?
newcomer?
Concussion.
Best newcomer?
Concussion.
Definitely. Actually, also one for the engineering award. Actually, I forgot to mention was Expulsion.
Oh yeah, that was.
I mean if they improve the design of that robot and make it a lot less boxy and kind of hard to maneuver, it actually could be a really good design.
I've seen their new robot. It looks amazing.
Oh, can't wait! I hope they get in, because I want to see their improvement.
I also want to throw one in for most trashed Worm.
Oh.
Worm.
Literally thrown into a skip at the end of the competition.
Yeah, so it was quite literally trash at the end. The last one, the Motorama guys actually came up with it a couple years ago. The biggest epic fail award.
Oh,
Trolley Rage.
Trolley Rage.
No. I hate to pick on this, but my pick for epic fail, like, it's not a robot, but it's a moment. Worm in the first round, man.
Oh, actually, no. Actually, no. Worm when they put the controls the wrong way.
No, that was
That
an
was
epic win where the guy just went, "Oh yeah, I'll just turn my controller upside
but I mean, like,
down."
Luke, I understand that chain drives are hard to maintain, but the chains came off just because they bumped into a wall.
Actually, this wasn't his fault necessarily, but it was still a very anticlimactic way to go in terms of epic failing was Foxic.
Yes.
Oh, a retaining.
God damn
bolt.
that floor flip.
It was a retain. It wasn't the flipper's fault. It was the retaining bolt.
Because if this had been an arena with no house spots, no hazards, and no bullshit, I'm sure Foxic would have won.
And finally, a sportsmanship award.
What sportsmanship? I'll give it to. I want to give it to Craig Danby.
You know what? Given what he told us, I have to give it to Foxic too, because he and his brother were wonderful in the pits. They were giving out all their spares to everybody when they needed it. They offered to help, because the camaraderie with Craig Danby that he told us really is what puts him as the winner for sportsmanship. And
he was
finally
just winding up Angela the whole way through the competition as well. Like, anytime she was doing her piece to camera in the pits, he was always like making a stupid face behind her and stuff.
And he's got an event this weekend. He's heading to Robo Games this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in California. So he's got Foxic. He's in an arena that has no house spots, no hazards, and no bullshit. And I think he can do well with this thing. I think he can beat Last Rites.
Probably get something even crazier. Because it's not Robot Wars without the crazy robots.
It's true. I mean, this series is so advanced now. I can't even do me and Mr. Psycho's signature of the Piece to Shit award, because there is no bad, really horrible robot nowadays. I mean, it's got to the point where everything's, even the least good robots are still pretty decent. So, plus also, I don't know. I picked on enough Series 3 robots as it is. I mean, that.
Binky.
Oh god.
I think for most shocking moment, I'd have to go with Nuts 2 being catapulted out of the arena by.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Brandon called that one in advance.
I've watched that several times, and I still
the most shocking moment for me was Terahertz getting launched by Aftershock.
Honestly, with Nuts 2 being thrown out of the arena, I was watching it at Anthony's house, and the two of us literally stood up out of our chairs and started screaming. We couldn't believe what we'd just seen.
Well, I think that pretty much covers the clusterfuck awards of the Night Wars.
And worst hairstyle award.
Tim.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Don't hate the mohawk.
The nominees are Ellis from Pulsar with that short at the sides and back, but somehow has a fringe. But I think the winner has to go to Dara for just not trying at all.
He's going for the Amit Zappa look.
Oh, I'm looking. I'm on the team's website and I'm looking at all the pictures. Yeah, Craig Danby looks like he just got up out of bed.
Well, he was working on like 8 different bots before the picture, and he's there covered in dirt.
Actually, speaking of hair, and I know Will Thomas is gonna scream when I say this. My mom pointed this out. Ian Thomas has more hair than Will.
Oh, he has more hair than I do. And I'm 26. He's what? 50?
I don't know, but anyway, let's get
screw it. You can check the wiki page later.
He's 24.
He's 24.
2 years younger than me.
And me.
And 3 years younger than me.
Two years older than me. Oh.
We are old. I always thought Will was older than me. I always thought he was 30.
Huh.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get to the final.
We're old men. We're slow and we're old.
Young punks.
You know we're old whenever we're sitting talking about the classic series. I did an interview with Cherub recently, and I said one of my questions to the kids was, "What's your favorite series of Robot Wars?" And they went, "Oh, which one, 8 or 9? Or sorry, which one, 1 or 2?" And I went, "No, 1 to 9. Which one's your favorite?" And they went, "No, we haven't seen any of the classic series." I lost my mind. I thought I'd end the interview there.
I'm having a stroke right now. Oh.
That's it. I'm done. I'm walking out.
My entire channel dedicated to this.
Well, Craig Callias, if you're listening, show him Jimjamatic's videos.
Yeah. Also, Craig Callias, how dare you make that huge ripoff? Gabriel, totally a huge ripoff. How dare you?
It's clearly a ripoff of Flip Flop Fly. Come on. Oh, jeez. I'm recording that one tomorrow. Get ready for a rant for that one.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
Anyway.
Yeah, at long last, we make it to the grand final. The flipper of Eruption, driven by Michael Oates, one of the best drivers and one of the most powerful flippers in the UK, in my opinion, versus Carbide, the most destructive robot in the UK as of right now. And a lot of people said this grand final match was really good. It was okay, but
I share your opinion there, Brandon.
I thought the Eruption Aftershock match was better.
Yeah, but it was just...
I will say this, though. The amount of damage that Eruption took in this match, it was on par with Bigger Brother when it fought Hypnodisc.
Yeah,
it was.
It kept going for. It went for way longer than I thought it was. Like it was getting battered. Its entire lifter was like peeling off.
There were wires hanging out of it.
Oh yeah, there was.
Yeah, and it was a mess. And I was just waiting for that time to come where Carbide just stops moving and then Eruption just wins it by default. But no, it just Carbide kept getting hits in, and
first
Eruption managed to get a flip in, and I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, here we go.
No.
First grand final since Series 3 to end via knockout.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the only other one is Series 2, and that's it. Like in the entire span of the series that I've ended in knockout, knockouts. So,
unless you want to count the Panzer Mach 2 Revolutionist match from the first U.S. championship. Even
I'm only talking about the proper series.
Yeah, there was nothing proper of that U.S. championship. I mean, four first round melees consisting of 6 robots. What the fuck, TN?
Wow. Actually, one thing I found kind of funny about this match is just that, I mean, they got the little flip in, and then you think, oh, it's going to take out, this can knock an electronics out of Carbide. Nope. Back in even more. And I give credit to Eruption for lasting as long as they did. But
yeah, I was amazed to see Eruption last that long, especially considering their earlier fight with Carbide, which was just over really before it started. So with this one, I was expecting one hit KO. That's it. Carbide's the winner. But they put up one hell of a fight.
It would have been it would have been an absolute kick in the teeth though, because obviously the wires started hanging out at some point. It would have been a kick in the teeth if they got disqualified for an entanglement weapon.
I thought were those the drive chains or actually wires
They were wires.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I think they're just wires hanging out of the robot by the end of it, just flailing around.
Well, you know, sometimes if there's like a lipo battery hanging out of the robot, you automatically lose because if that battery gets hit, it's going to cause an explosion.
And look at Chompalot from last series.
Oh yeah,
that was an explosion and a half. But fair play to Eruption though. They got battered, but they got battered honorably. Oh, certainly.
Yeah,
and then
finally just earns its title as the UK Tombstone because
exactly
so very similar to Tombstone's approach because like season one of BattleBots, Tombstone was just decimating everyone. Got to the grand final, the weapon broke, they lost. Came back for the second season, and they went all the way. They kind of held back, and then in the final battle against Bombshell, they just went apeshit and just absolutely destroyed.
One more?
The exact same thing happened with Carbide, where in the first series, they were going all out, the weapon kept breaking. They reached the grand final, they lost, came back for Series 2, and all throughout this series, I really did think they were holding back. So it was great to see in the final battle, they had nothing left to lose. They just went all out on Eruption and completely battered them.
It was a year in the making, Nate. Molds finally got his hands on the ultimate prize.
Yeah, well, thank God for the power of Carbide's flipper. Oh, sorry.
The Metro.
Jeez. These news sites still suck.
Oh.
Like, I looked up I looked up Robot Wars Carbide and looked at all the news programs and like. Yeah, Flipper. Do you Nudniks not watch this show? And then I see, one. I see the article where it talks about Carbide winning, and then on the very bottom it says, competitor walks out after losing to kids, and I'm like, fuck you, you motherfuckers. He didn't leave because he lost to kids. He lost because the weapon sucked. Fuck you, social media.
Could you imagine what the news stories would be like if it was like this back in the classic series? Oh, Ian Lewis storms off after thousands worth of pounds gets destroyed.
Actually, the most pointless news article was when it was after it was the one with Crackers and Smash versus Carbide, and it said that Angela had to stop match. You know, it's like it's like
they used it
because Angela can do that.
It's just.
And people say the American press is bad.
It's like, but the thing about Carbide being a flipper, though, is the fact they couldn't even look on Wikipedia for like 2 seconds or look at an image of it. I mean, it's got the word Carbide written on top of it. How can you not? Also, have you not seen that series?
What a wonderful
newsflash!
Clickbait nonsense we live in.
Newsflash! Robot Wars canceled because piece of robot goes through screen.
I'm expecting more than that. I'm really expecting some newspaper to go, should Robot Wars be cancelled? Is it unsafe because like a piece of a robot broke through
I will say
glass.
This though. If Robot Wars is definitely coming back for 10th series, there's one thing they really need to do. They need to get steel bumpers for those walls, because those walls, they do not hold up at all.
Hey, whoever wins the next series, it's not going to be the arena.
Hi-yo.
We actually do have another phrase that we say where if it's robot versus the arena always wins. And that's basically because we have like steel bumpers on the side. So if your robot goes crashing into the steel bumper, it's going to hold up. But the Robot Wars arena just hasn't been as fortunate. But it's like, yeah, like for the next series, do what BattleBots does. Not put spikes on it, but just have a really solid arena for to resist all those spinners, because those walls are not doing it. Because what's it been? Three times they've taken hits from legit robots being flung into it and spinners. It's just like. Yeah, that like the arena. It's definitely improved from Series 8. The lighting is much better. The camera work is much better. They just really need to fix those walls.
No, I got a chance to go into the arena whenever I was at Robot Wars, and like one of the producers was kind of walking me around it and that sort of thing, and I got a chance to see those sort of inner walls up close, and they're very, very thin. There's still damage on them from Series 8, and the only reason that they're there is just to stop flippers from flipping another robot easily over the sidewall. So they're not really there for protection. They're more sort of there as a sort of an extra hazard. But whereas you get to the outer walls, and those are the big boys, they're the ones that's going to stop any real damage.
Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much concludes Robot Wars: The Ninth Wars. Carbide finally, at long last, is the champion. And I gotta ask, has there ever been a more dominant championship run than what Carbide put this year?
Probably Chaos 2 in Series 3 was probably.
I was just James. I hate to interrupt you, but James, you we were talking before you came on the podcast, and you said that by the end you were kind of getting bored of Carbide's run as champion. And could you kind of rant about this for a minute?
I wouldn't really call it a rant, but it's one of those things where when you see a robot like well, the only good comparison for the classic series is something like Hypnodisc, which was considered the most destructive robot of the old series. But when it comes to like the differences between the two, Hypnodisc, even in its first stages, like even when it got to like Series 5 and 6 still, it would still have like obvious weaknesses. Like you could flip it over, it would take itself right, it would take ages to self-right it, so you could get it out of the arena or push it into an obstacle, or the disc sometimes didn't work properly, had to spin up, its driving wasn't great, and its wheels weren't very reliable, especially in the Grand Final Series 4, they just broke instantly as soon as they set off. While I'm not saying Carbide is completely faultless, because obviously in Series 8, they had a different motor, so sometimes the weapon didn't work, and obviously against Terahertz, it outright just broke down. But the thing is, for me, in this series particularly, since they managed to perfect Carbide to the point where it never actually felt like it was in danger at any point, I never really got excited to see it fight, because I just thought to myself, it's just going to kill the robot and that'll be the battle, and I'd always be right every time. I mean, it's I'm not saying it doesn't deserve the win. It completely deserved it. They've made a great robot. I'm not going to take anything away from Dave and and Sam, but at the same time, when there's no surprises, like when I watched Hypnodisc, I always thought there's always a risk this robot can lose, because even against things like in Series 6, for example, it lost in the losers melee. So I think it was not completely good. And even something like Chaos 2, it still didn't manage to win Series 5 and 6. I mean, hell, in Series 6 got flipped out of the arena, and it also got beaten by Razor in the World Championship in the same series it won. So it never felt completely invincible. Well, I'm not even saying that Carbide is invincible. No robot is invincible. Every robot can be taken out. I just didn't feel like this, because it was so perfect this series, I just couldn't really get excited to watch it. Because, I mean, I like it, but compared to last series where there's still, like, risks of it losing because of its weapon not working, like against Apollo and stuff, here it was just unstoppable.
Yeah, the same kind of issue can be said for Tombstone. I mean, like, going back to like the last two series it competed in, there was a point where it was like, oh, there's no way anybody can beat this, but there were certainly points, particularly like its match against Bite Force, which it lost after the blade broke, or its match against Beta, where Beta could have won, but the hammer broke, and Tombstone, I think, a lot of people have the same issue with Tombstone, like, oh, it's too overpowered, there's no way to beat it. Tombstone can be beaten, because robots like Original Sin and Sewer Snake and a few others, they have shown that if your robot is thick enough, if it's tough enough, you're able to withstand all these hits from these big spinners, you can take them out. There is a way, because Carbide, like, I don't know, if Terahertz had fought Carbide again, would they? You think the same kind of result could have happened this year?
It's entirely possible that they could have been taken out at any point. I mean, again, no robot is infallible, but I guess it's just 'cause it just felt so refined, this series. I just didn't really feel as excited to watch Carbide fight as they did last series, where even in their own heat they lost a battle, against Terahertz. So there was always a sign that they could lose. Well, here I'm not saying again they can lose. Just I don't know. It's just again, it's hard to explain, but it's just I guess when there's a robot, it appears invincible. And it starts to sort of prove that more and more as it goes through. Like, it hasn't lost a single fight this entire series. I guess it just loses the excitement in a way. I guess it's sort of like knowing who's going to win a fight before it happens. In a way.
I think that's something that the production team has sort of realized now, because obviously for Series 10 we're now getting the entanglement devices allowed, so it is something that's going to prove more of a challenge. So I just literally. I can't wait to enter push the exit with a big birthday present on the front of it that has a net inside.
I mean, I'm really hoping that one day they do lax the. I know, Nate, you the active weapon rule.
Yeah, I say that for example, if you want to enter a Rambot, it should be like a certain. It should be like a certain speed, because. Nobody wants to see, like, a silver box that goes 5 miles an hour.
Nah.
But, like, Rambots, like, Sewer Snake and Original Sin and, for another BattleBots robot, War Machine, those things are fun to watch because of just how fast they are across the arena.
Same with Storm 2, when it, like, in Series 7, it was fun to watch.
Even in Extreme 2, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, man, I love this thing. It's so fast and just... slides everywhere.
No, honestly,
hits things hard. I love
the one fight that Storm 2 kind of made me go whoa at the first
Steel Avenger. Was it Steel Avenger? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never
Same
seen
here.
a robot that had that much force behind it that could throw another completely out of the arena, and it didn't even use its flipper.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think. Producers on both BattleBots and Robot Wars, they sometimes they don't accept robots that look kind of bland. Like, I don't know, because obviously BattleBots you need an active weapon robot. Your robot had to at least look cool. Like it had to have like some kind of entertainment factor to it.
How the hell did they not accept Hella Chopper?
Because it was too dangerous. It was spontaneously combustible. Yeah.
See, that's the one thing about the active weapon law that really, really confuses me, because you have episodes, and particularly in this series, where the likes of Sabretooth or Aftershock, they're feverishly trying to get their weapon working again. Like even Gabe during his fight with Jellyfish, he had to keep spinning that drum to show the producers that it was an active weapon. Then you've got episode 5 with Crackers and Smash, who are allowed to take their weapons off the robot.
Yeah.
So it really confuses me. There's an inconsistency there.
I mean, I still don't understand, why was Chimera allowed in Series 8? Because it wasn't like a...
Because it had those little arms that went up and down, and it could do somersaults.
Could it? I mean,
yeah.
All right.
They spin 360 degrees. It can do a handstand. And then,
no, that's Cherub. No, Chimera from Series 8.
Chimera.
More from Series 8 than Series 9, because Series 9, the axe could move independently, but in Series 8, it just seemed like a standard thwackbot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like a less it looks more like something like Flip Flop Fly than actually like something like Gable, which can move independently. So I don't really understand why it was allowed in, but it was a reserve, I guess. So maybe it was just the first reserve in.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Maybe there was somebody in the production crew who was a fan of Toe Crusher or something. I don't know. Well, we'll find out what happens in Series 10, which that's next month, isn't it? The filming.
It starts on May 11th. May 11th,
Yeah,
I think.
second week of May.
Yep. And is there an air date for Series 10? Like September?
It'll
or something?
probably like August, probably.
Yeah,
I
my
imagine.
guess would be August, same as Series 1/8.
I'm so disappointed though, because I can't make it because I've got exams around that. God damn it! I'm revision. I can't. I mean, it's final year of university. I can't go and watch Robots get smashed for about 4 hours while I've got to be doing revision. So
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to it. So that pretty much does it. I think we should give this episode a rating.
I don't really give ratings, like, either in reviews, but I'll just say that overall, while I think the series started out strong, as it went on, I think we sort of saw the problems with, bringing back spinners in a modern context, because spinners have just been absent on the UK combat scene for so long. And, because I looked at the page, there were only 5 judges' decisions this entire series.
That's amazing. Yeah, only 5 judges' decisions, only 2 televised pitfalls overall. Mm-hmm. One was a middleweight.
Yeah, little Charles the Cheese.
Yeah, little cheese. Yep. That's amazing. Yeah, I kind of wish they did air more of the pittings that they showed off screen, because because the pit is one of the iconic little gimmicks of Robot Wars. You enjoy seeing a robot go down there and disappearing in the smoke, and we only saw it twice.
Yeah, I suppose it just showed that the robots are starting to improve enough where they can take each other out without having to need to resort to the pit. But also, again, the worst was also, as Thor found out, you don't always get the pit button.
Oh,
that was tense when Cushion was stuck there. But I like the Roadhouse robots.
I would have just kept pressing the pit release button constantly until eventually the pit did go down. Do you think if when Matilda and Concussion was stuck on the pit, do you think they would have lowered the pit with Matilda on it, or would have they just said Rogue House Robot constantly?
We asked this of Craig Danby, and he said they probably wouldn't have, because if the pit went down with Matilda and Concussion on there, it would not come back up.
Well,
but anyway, overall, I would say I wouldn't put this on par with, say, Series 6 or Series 4 in my book, but it's still a really good series.
Yeah.
A little better than Series 8, but I think Series 8 had a few more memorable fights, in terms of fights. Good back and forth.
No house robot kills. That made me sad.
No, there were a few. I mean, Nuts was a... And also, there were some, but they weren't actually aired. Like, they showed Trolley Rage getting lifted up in the intro, but they never actually showed it on air, unfortunately. Which
I meant like the house robots getting killed, like when
Apollo I see.
The 3 house robots.
The closest we got was Apollo barely lifting Kill up, and Dead Metal getting his claws ripped up against Aftershock. But apart from that, they got off a lot better. I mean, Apollo didn't manage to flip them all over again. So,
I gotta say, Shunt took a real beating in this series. I mean, he had like the most powerful discs coming in and just made a complete mess of his scoop. But it just shows that, because I think if this had been like the original House robots, especially, you look at Shunt, it's still got that scar on its scoop from when Jackson Wallop smacked into it. He'd be in pieces by now. People say they don't like the new House robots. These new House robots are a huge improvement, I'd say.
Oh, they're a lot more durable than before. I mean, particularly looking at the difference between the old and new Sir Kill-A-Lot is just... I mean, he's got like proper tank treads now, and he's got like proper armor around around all the tanks and stuff. So, also, he's not set on fire at all.
I kind of miss.
Don't play that. Nate is being a nudnik. He's watching a Helichopper test on his computer, and he had the volume up, so that's probably going to be playing.
Actually, no. We have headphones on. It's not playing through the speakers.
Oh yeah?
No.
All right, I'll take your word.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear anything.
No.
All right. I don't know, but sometimes Skype recorder likes to be screwy and starts recording stuff. like sometimes the Facebook beep would play every now and then. But yeah, overall, if I were to give this episode a rating, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10 as well, because it was good, and I really think the right robot won this series overall, but there were matches that could have had a lot more to it, particularly the first round matches, which were over pretty quickly.
Yeah, so. I just felt that there could have been a little more to this series. Like, if there were, like, a few, like what you said, battles with more to it than just, one hit, spin kill, etc., it would have been on par with the likes of Series 6 and Series 4.
Yeah. All right, Steven, you want to give your thoughts?
Well, I really enjoyed this series. For me, the Eighth Wars kind of had a lot of teething problems. You know, they just brought the show back, and they didn't really know sort of certain aspects, how to do them. For example, the editing was a big problem with Series 8. They've really managed to fix that with Series 9. I think the show looks gorgeous now. It really does look beautiful, because they've incorporated that eagle cam that goes the whole way from the back of the pits right up to the arena. As an entertainment show, I think it works beautifully. I do agree with what you're saying. There weren't as many iconic fights this series. There were a lot of sort of one-hit KOs and that sort of thing. But again, I think it's a learning curve. It's a learning process. And I think we're really going to see something special with next year with the 10th Wars.
And finally, Jim, your thoughts. And do you want to give a rating?
I don't normally give a rating, but I'll give one, I guess. I probably just give this one a 7 as well. Mainly because I do think, while some battles did suffer from the fact that they're a bit short, because a lot of it was spinners on spinners and stuff, we still got a very, 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 very reliable champion in Carbide. You know, very resilient Eruption, even lasting right in, as long as they did really. And actually, all the robots in the grand finals, did the best they could, even if Concussion got a bit ganged up on. But they all managed to make it there. I really hope they all appear next series, because I think Carbide probably will, but it'll still be nice to see if they may have what upgrades they can make and stuff. And overall, I've really enjoyed the series as well. I mean, I'd say I've enjoyed it probably just as much as the last series, maybe a slightly bit more, mainly because you got a lot more weirder designs and stuff, like particularly things like Jellyfish, Miss Nightshade. You've got like Crackers and Smash, a cluster bot. We haven't seen a Walker / Shuffle bot yet though, so that'll be interesting in the world of Carbide. But
I'm sure we'll see a Shuffle bot eventually.
Yeah, I want to see the likes of
maybe
Drillzilla come back, because I really love their setup.
Who knows? Maybe Mike Franklin will come out of retirement.
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to Simon Harris on my podcast, obviously, very recently, and he told me obviously that him and Mike might be doing something. Don't know anything about. Don't know anything else. He had mentioned anything else. He just said, they might be doing something. We don't know if it's a robot or anything, but a King Anarchy would be quite cool to see.
That'll be great.
Anar King.
Oh,
Anar King.
There we go.
Yeah.
We got jokes.
I got jokes. Or not.
So yeah, that pretty much covers the grand final of Robot Wars: The Ninth Wars and the series overall. I think that this podcast was a good idea. I'm glad I came up with it.
Yep, and
totally original idea
Indeed.
for me.
And we were and the thing with us is that we're gonna be doing more than just Robot Wars reviews. I mean, if you check out the playlist, we did a review of WrestleMania this year. We're probably going to be doing like some movie reviews. I mean, I have a little anime review in mind that I want to do with Nick from Team Worm.
Worm. Yeah, it was funny when he mentioned
Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, and God help me if Nate has to force me to review it with him.
Oh no! I'm going to spare you that. It's just going to be me and Nick.
Okay. Because the last thing if I ever want to watch an anime featuring maids, I'll watch Black Lagoon Roberta's Blood Trail. Thank you very much. Which, by the way, I was able to get autographed by Tabitha St. Germain, who voices Roberta. I went through. I risked every limb to get that autograph from her. She almost choked me out. You know what it's like to be choked out by a woman who voices a white pony?
Hey, we've been doing this for an hour and 40 minutes.
Can I leave now? The chains are getting too hard on my wrists.
All right.
Yeah, and I've got a review to finish editing.
All right, Jim.
Yay.
Yeah. And
we give us a shout out, Steve?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
But anyway.
Yeah, any shout outs? Anything?
Yeah, I guess that's it. So
Swanee? Anybody?
So yeah, I think you should take us out now, man.
Yeah, nobody's got any shout outs or anything. We're all good.
Mm-hmm.
We're all good.
All right. Well, yeah, this has been a wacky adventure. I'd like to give a big thank you to Nate for joining me.
The pleasure's mine.
Yep. And also to Steven, a.k.a. Votesaxon07. You should follow him on his YouTube page at Votesaxon07 if you want to see all his reviews of Robot Wars, all his reviews of toys and action figures and stuff.
I may send you something to review,
Ooh,
Steven.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad. I wouldn't send you like any
Sex toys.
or those busty anime those overpriced statues of busty anime women.
What a shame.
This Hanoka action figure is well detailed. Unfortunately, the breasts are not big enough.
But what
Okay, it's
Hell sort of accent is that?
that was not anywhere near us. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Or me.
Oh, this episode has been a complete success.
Anyway, so I guess we
And
should sign off.
Jimjamatic, any last words?
I might as well say it because they're not going to be returning next series, so I guess it's sort of become my catchphrase for this for series 9. Worm is love, worm is life with a Y. Because as I said, I like to live dangerously.
Alright, commiserations to Dave Weston. I know he couldn't be here, but soon, eventually, we will have you on here. But, yeah, that pretty much covers it. I would like to give a big thank you to everyone who decided to watch this show and put up with our bullshit. And, until next time, and until Series 10, this is the Hardcore Kid, Otaku Nate, Votesaxon07 and Jimjamatic saying, peace out.
Farewell.
Sound the fanfare, cue the applause. We've crowned a new champion
On Robot
Wars.
Oh, snap.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
People I work with.